All right, let's get going. Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Cunningham. I'm the AVP for Alumni Relations here at Lehigh, and I will be the moderator for our Mountain Talk today with Assistant Professor Danny Zane, who's Assistant Professor of Marketing at Lehigh and specializes in consumer psychology. And he researches the influences that consumers draw about themselves and companies based on the information they have available. We're going to talk about special day themed sales. So I don't know about you, but I did spend some money on Cyber Monday and Giving Tuesday and Black Friday and all of the things. It seems like a lot of them are, it's not just Cyber Monday, it's a sneak peek into Cyber Monday a month beforehand or so. Anyway, so before I turn it over to Danny, I just want to do a little choreography reminders. If you haven't been on these before, we'll go till about 1 o'clock, and the success of these is really based on your interactions. So Danny's going to talk for a few minutes and show us a presentation, and then we'll take questions. And if you have questions even before then, just put them in the chat. You can either write them to everyone, so everyone on the webinar can see, or you can just write it to hosts and panelists, and I will read them aloud to Danny either as we go or at the end of his presentation. If we don't get a chance to get through everybody's questions, you can always email us and we'll get those questions to Danny and he can respond after the webinar. But all right, Danny, take it away. You want to share your screen?
Sure. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Thanks, everybody, for being here. I'm excited to talk to you about my research today that I think is, as Jennifer sort of alluded to, hopefully pretty timely given some of these big holiday and sales events that we're coming off of here. So hopefully you can see my slides at this point. And so Jennifer alluded to, right, Cyber Monday, which I think I just read had the most sales volume to date. I think Black Friday, I was reading, was a huge turnout as well, especially in sort of online sales. And so I'm sure you're all familiar with Black Friday sales, Cyber Monday. Of course, Christmas will be coming up, which is sort of another expected, more traditional holiday that sales events will definitely be aimed at. And so what I want to talk about today is what we call special day themed sales promotions, which are sort of going to stand a bit in contrast to these more traditional holidays and the promotions that are around them. So I'll quickly give a shout out to my co-authors on this, Rebecca Rezick at Ohio State and Kelly Hawes at Vanderbilt University. And so just to dive in here, we're starting to see a proliferation of what we call these special day themed sales promotions, which are more so around these kind of more atypical or non-traditional holidays. So as was in the title that you saw in the previous slide, here's a sale that a company is offering around Pi Day, which is on March 14th. And so you can see they're making a connection sort of in a cute way with a 3.14, which is of course the first couple digits of the mathematical number pi as sort of the price around products. Here's a company that's selling pizzas, and they're giving a sale around National Pizza Day, which is another special day, as we would categorize it. Star Wars Day is on May 4th. May the 4th be with you, as they say, attached to that holiday. And so here you see an event, a sales event around that. And so those are sort of more national special days. But you also now see companies doing things that are maybe even more unique to them. Here's a company offering a promotion around one of its founders' birthdays. And so you're getting companies to sort of do unique things in this way as well. And I think social media and the proliferation of digital media helps with these sorts of special day promotions. And so we're seeing a lot of them in the marketplace. Just to sort of help you wrap your head around exactly what we mean by these, we think they are sales promotions attached to non-traditional events and holidays. And we've actually created a typology in our research, and I'll just sort of breeze through that with you here. But we see special days around that are national or international and that are external to firms, meaning they didn't create them, they're not sort of involved with them in any way. And so you have these unofficial or grassroots holidays like Pi Day, Star Wars Day, National Picnic Day is another one. The list goes on and on here. And then you also have national days or these special days that are actually attached to nonprofits or some sort of organization. So National Food Day is one of those where there's an organization that sort of created that day. But of course, as any company, you could perhaps think about offering a promotion around National Food Day. You then actually have some companies that have really created their own special days. And so the clothing retailer Land's End actually created National Swimsuit Day, and they were the first to do that. So that's kind of a cool way that companies are actually creating these special days, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. You have company-specific holidays, as I mentioned. So now companies are offering these promotions around something like the anniversary of when the company was founded. Like I showed you on the previous slide, the birthday of a founder can be celebrated with a sales promotion or discount. You have holidays that are actually now based on interactions between customers and companies. And so because we're in the age of data where companies can collect and store and use the data they have about their customers, we now in the marketplace also see sales around things like the anniversary of a customer's first purchase with the company, or the anniversary of even something like when a customer first interacted with them on some social media platform. So all these metrics companies now have, I'd argue that they actually leverage or could leverage in this way. And then, as a final example here, we have holidays based on consumer characteristics that are unrelated to any interaction they have with the company. So often companies now have information about our birthdays, even things like our wedding anniversaries. And so they can offer us promotions around those special days as well. And so keeping this typology in mind, and I'll show you examples as I sort of go throughout here. In our work, my co-authors and I were interested in really two large questions. One is, are these special day themed sales promotions we're seeing more and more of in the marketplace effective? And if so, why is that? And then along the same lines, what are the limits to their effectiveness as we think about marketers using them and consumers' response? So when might consumers actually respond favorably to these types of promotions versus not? And so I'm an experimental researcher by nature, so I'm going to show you a few experiments that I've designed and conducted here today. And the first I want to share with you is a field study that we conducted with an actual company in the marketplace. And so what we wanted to do was initially test whether consumers indeed respond more favorably to a special day themed sales promotion compared to a more standard promotion you would see in the marketplace. And oftentimes as researchers, we'll use sort of self-reported behaviors. And so we'll, in studies later on, I'll talk about how we assess consumers' purchase intentions simply by asking them how likely they might be to use a discount. But right off the bat, we wanted to get at real behavior in the marketplace. And so I'll show you how we assess that. And we first, in this field study, wanted to test whether a special day themed promotion around a company-specific special day might show some favorable benefits. And so here we partnered with a company that sells Jeep parts, but also dog gear. And that might seem like a weird combination, but they're mainly a Jeep store. They also sell this dog gear because they have a company mascot that's a dog that they actually rescued. And they do contribute a portion of their sales to dog rescue. And so that's the connection there. And you'll see how that sort of all plays into this special day theme promotion that this company offered. So essentially, with our help, this company sent their customer list, and it's a small company, keep that in mind. They sent their customers one of two versions of an email. So if you were a customer of this company, you would randomly receive one of two versions of an email, and I'll show you both of those versions on the next slide here. So for some customers, this company sent them what we're calling a standard promotion. So it was simply this promotion saying, hey, save 25% today only. So this one-day sale, standard in the marketplace that I'm sure all of you see many days out of the year. And so there was no mention here of any special day. There was no attachment of this discount to some special day. But in the special day theme promotion condition, we now attach the discount to the anniversary of their dog mascot's rescue date. So again, remember that they sell dog gear in part because they have this dog mascot named Cooper, and Cooper was rescued by this company. So now this special day theme promotion is attaching that discount as a way to celebrate this special day, the date that Cooper, the dog mascot, was adopted by this company. Same discount percentage across conditions. So objectively speaking, you're not getting a better deal or anything like that, depending on which version you saw. But let's see what happened here in terms of consumer response. So these went out as an email promotion. And so what we want to look at is, depending on which version of that email you got, did it change the number of individuals who clicked on a shop now link in that email to then go visit the website and get one step closer to buying something using that discount? And so what we see is indeed when consumers receive that special day theme promotion, 25% in celebration of the day that they rescued their dog mascot Cooper, they were almost twice as likely to click on the shop now link in that email compared to those who received that standard promotion with no mention of this special day. So that's a pretty big increase in terms of click-through rates in the marketing world. So we were really excited to see that. And the company also provided us some additional data. So in the special day theme promotion condition, they were able to track $95 in sales to that special day theme promotion compared to no sales in the standard promotion. Again, keep in mind, this is a small company and these numbers are not uncommon for them to sort of have a promotion not necessarily translate to sales. So they were happy to see quite a sizable increase from, of course, nothing, given that special day theme promotion compared to the standard one. And then if we look at just how many total email opens there were, so how many times was an email opened as opposed to just trashed, we see a greater number of opens when people receive that special day themed promotion compared to that standard one as well. And so the company also told us that 10% is generally sort of the average click-through rate of all of their promotions. And so we were seeing that the special day theme promotion was performing above average, which was also nice to hear. And so the question then becomes, well, why are special day themed sales promotions effective? And what we argue is it's because that consumers think the marketers behind these special day themed sales promotions are creative, and then essentially they're rewarding the marketer's creative effort in giving them a way to celebrate these holidays where otherwise, you might not really know how to celebrate one of these days. But in this case, the marketer is allowing you to do that. You're thinking about how the marketer is creative for putting in this effort to allow you to do so. And so we ran a survey around this notion that, is it about the marketer's creativity that's driving the effectiveness of these special day promotions? And so we simply asked people to report their how creative they think it would be for a company to use each of the holidays you see down here to center a promotion around. And so the days you see in red are special days, things like Pi Day, Star Wars Day, National Dog Day, National Food Day. We threw a company-specific holiday in there. And you can see that those were rated as significantly more creative to use to attach a promotion to, compared to more traditional holidays and events that we see in the marketplace all the time, like Labor Day, Memorial Day, Black Friday, Christmas, even something like a start of summer sale. And so these more traditional holiday events were seen as significantly less creative in terms of attaching a promotion to them relative to these special days. So some initial evidence there that this notion of creativity might be driving it. And from a psychological perspective, we know that there are two underlying dimensions of creativity. And so for something to be perceived as creative by consumers, it must be seen as both original and relevant. And so to support our account that it's really the marketer's creativity driving this, we're going to play around with those two dimensions and say, okay, well, it should be then that special day theme promotions must be both original and relevant or appropriate. And so I'll show you a couple quick studies here getting at those and how it supports what we think is driving this effect. And so first, we collected some, again, survey data looking at consumer perceptions of how original these special day theme promotions are. And so here you have all of the same special days, as well as the traditional days that I showed you from that previous survey. But here, what we're now asking is, how many companies do you see offering discounts on each of these days in the marketplace? And what we see is that across the board for these special days, in red, customers reported seeing significantly fewer companies offering discounts around these special days compared to these more traditional holidays and events. So some initial evidence that special days are indeed seen as more original, which again is sort of one of the underlying dimensions that would drive these perceptions of creativity. And so now to show you an experiment looking at this originality component even more so, we again randomly assigned participants to see one of two versions of a promotion. And so in this study, for our special day theme promotion, we anchored it on National Picnic Day, which is on April 23rd. So some participants in this study received this mock promotional email, whereas others received the standard promotion. And the only thing that differed here was that this was now titled an annual one-day sale. So pretty subtle difference. Everything else held constant. Here, the ad is around this special day. Here, the discount and the ad that it's contained within is simply centered on an annual one-day sale, this more standard promotion you see in the marketplace. But what we also manipulated in this study was before they saw one of these two advertisements, we manipulated their perceptions of how many companies in the marketplace were offering sales around National Picnic Day. And so we had them read a mock article where in one version of the article, it made this special day picnic day sale promotion seem quite original. And we did this by saying there's lots of picnic related retailers out there, but only one of them is taking advantage of National Picnic Day and offering a promotion around this special day. And then, hey, in a minute, for those that saw this National Picnic Day sale, they thought to themselves, oh, this was the only retailer in the marketplace offering a sale around this special day. And so our prediction was that the special day theme sales promotion, this National Picnic Day sale, should work better than an annual one-day sale when National Picnic Day sale is seen as original in the marketplace because there's really only this one company offering. Other participants in this study, however, instead read a very similar article that now said lots of retailers are taking advantage of National Picnic Day. So most companies that are picnic related are now offering National Picnic Day sales. And so here, this special day theme promotion should now seem much less original. And our prediction here was that the special day theme promotion should not work any better than the standard promotion when it's not seen as original in the marketplace, again, because originality is one of the underlying dimensions of creativity, which we propose is driving the effectiveness of special day themed sales promotions. And so let's look at it. We assessed their intentions to use a promotion. So how likely would you be to use this promotion to make a purchase from this company? When that special day theme sales promotion was seen as original, when there was only one company in the marketplace capitalizing on National Picnic Day, we indeed saw that the special day theme promotion led participants to report significantly greater intentions to make a purchase using that promotion compared to those who saw the standard one-day sale. However, when that National Picnic Day sale promotion was made to be seen as not very original because many companies were offering such sales around this special day in the marketplace, there's no significant difference in people's intentions to make a purchase using that special day themed sales promotion around Picnic Day compared to that standard promotion. And in fact, it actually starts to trend the opposite way, where maybe now marketers are actually trying too hard because everybody's doing it in the marketplace, offering this National Picnic Day sale. And so if I see somebody else offering it, maybe it starts to seem stale and I actually start to penalize them for sort of being a copycat as opposed to original. And so here's some evidence that indeed special day themed promotions are only effective when they're seen as original in the marketplace. And then the last study I want to show you today is getting at that other dimension of creativity, which is it has to be relevant or appropriate. And so we propose that special day themed promotions also have to seem appropriate in order for them to be more effective than these more standard promotions. And so here again, we randomly assign participants to see one of two versions of a promotion. The special day theme promotion in this case was around National Food Day. So here we're offering 30% off your next purchase in honor and celebration of National Food Day. Whereas those who received the standard promotion saw the same 30%, however, now it was simply for an annual one-day sale. And then we manipulated how appropriate we thought this National Food Day sale might seem by having it come from either an online grocery retailer, of course, groceries are a high fit with food, versus a clothing retailer, where clothing and food, there's not that much of a fit there. And so our prediction here was that the special day theme promotion around National Food Day should only work better than the standard promotion when coming from a grocer where there's high fit, where it's appropriate. So again, we assessed people's intentions to use that promotion. And when it came from the grocery retailer, we indeed saw that special day theme promotion around National Food Day led participants to be more, to report greater intentions to make a purchase using that discount compared to those who saw the same 30% discount, but now just one for an annual one-day sale. However, when there was low fit, when these promotions came from a clothing retailer, that National Food Day sale now was no longer more effective than the standard one-day sale, which speaks to this notion that special day theme promotions also must be seen as more appropriate, which is that second dimension of creativity. So quickly to summarize here, we find that special day theme promotions indeed lead to increased purchase intentions and things like click-through on actual emails compared to these more standard promotions we see in the marketplace. This is driven by consumers' perceptions of the marketer's creativity. Consumers are really rewarding these marketers for their creative effort in providing a way to celebrate these special days, these more non-traditional holidays. And these special days are really only more effective when seen as both original and appropriate in the marketplace. Okay, so what's that mean for both marketers and consumers? Well, from marketers' perspective, I think there's sort of a lot we can offer here and a lot of cool ways that marketers can sort of amp up their promotional calendars. And so generally speaking, the broad brush stroke is, yeah, as a marketer, add special days to your promotional calendars as long as they're original and appropriate. And so specifically, we encourage companies to capitalize on matches with either their company or their product. So for example, here's pizza. If that's a product that you sell, well, the connection to Pi Day, although a bit of sort of a pun, I think is pretty straightforward. Pizza pie, National Pi Day. You see lots of companies doing this. You see lots of bakeries that offer pies as well, capitalizing on National Pi Day, given this fit between product and special day. But even if there's not sort of a straightforward match between your company and product, think about ways to create clever matches. And so here's Cafe Press, which is a company that offers all sorts of gift items, clothing, mugs, stationery, nothing particularly related to pi day, the mathematical constant in any way, but look at this clever match they've created where it's 31.4% off your order. Of course, 3.14 being the first numbers of pi. And so here's a clever sort of numerical extension of that. And so we see them creating a match and using this special day in that way. Also, capitalize on your customer data. Again, as I mentioned, in the age where companies have all this data about customers, start thinking about, should you send them a discount for that customer's birthday, for their wedding anniversary, and so forth. And so if that fits your business model, it's perhaps something that you can really sort of capitalize on. Or perhaps maybe even tastefully create your own special day. As I mentioned, Land's End did this with National Swimsuit Day. Since 2017, when they first created it, it's now actually become International Swimsuit Day. So they seem to sort of ramp it up a degree. And it's to be seen whether, that was sort of a good move or not. And what I'd argue around creating your own is, if customers start to find out that you did indeed create it yourself, might that ever make them feel skeptical, like you're really trying to push product by sort of creating this new ploy? And so that's something that I think deserves future research and consideration by marketers alike. And then finally, as marketers, be careful of wear out. So just as your history lesson for today, Mother's Day, I believe, started in 1905. It was started by one woman as a way to honor her own late mother. And so I'd argue that in 1905, Mother's Day was seen as this special day. Of course, it quickly became commercialized. Father's Day soon followed. And so these are no longer these special days. They're now these more traditional holidays. I group them in that category. And so I think over time, we'll see more special days as they get used more often across industries by more companies, perhaps start to show some wear out. I think, if you made me guess, Pi Day could perhaps creep that way sooner than other special days, because I see it being used across industries in so many different ways. And then quickly, just for the consumers out there in the audience, I'd say, what are the implications here for you? Well, reflect on your reactions to promotions. Think about, do you really need to make this purchase? Or might you just be excited because a marketer gave you a way to celebrate a special day? And I get it, they're fun. Celebrating Pi Day, celebrating Star Wars Day, especially if you're a Star Wars fanatic, something like that, can feel super exciting, feel like it gives you a way to celebrate on a random weekday, when there's no holiday cheer around otherwise. But in general, if we can sort of audit our reactions to promotions, especially special day themed promotions, perhaps we become more savvy consumers. And so that's sort of the big takeaway I have given today's time constraints. And so that's what I'll share with you. Thanks. And in case you were wondering, here are these special days that correspond to today. And so if you're a company that's selling mousse, or I guess based in Mississippi, or a mason jar manufacturer, perhaps if you can get some creative out the door today, you could capitalize yourself. But I will leave it at that. I'll stop sharing my screen, and I'm happy to open it up to questions now. So thanks for listening to a bit about my research here today.
Nice. Thank you, Danny. We do have several questions here. I'm going to ask them not in order that they were asked, because you just touched on a couple of them. The first question was actually, although you're an expert in consumer psychology and know these marketing tricks, do you still find yourself falling for them?
That's a great question. And the answer is yes. So if there's decades of psychology research, and even sort of the best psychologists in the world say that it's extremely hard to really be perfect on this stuff, and to think about why you're reacting the way you do, to have this metacognition, to think about why am I having the thoughts I am and what's that mean, is a really mentally effortful thing. And of course, I'm just like everybody else, if it's late at night and I see promotions after a big work day and I just don't have the mental capacity to really kick into high gear there. Yes, these things get me. But I like to think maybe I'm better than the average consumer. That's probably not true.
Another question, since we are in a recession and people are tightening budgets, have these special days impacted people's spending amounts compared to previous years?
That's a great question. So I don't have sort of the aggregate data on consumer response, given the recession and how that might play in. I think that's a fascinating study for as an extension, like how do financial constraints maybe play into consumer reactions to these special days versus standard promotions. We did see a big, as I mentioned early on, we saw a big turnout for Black Friday and Cyber Monday this year. You know, there are some predictions for good spending around Christmas and the holidays in general. And so if it's really the case that consumers are rewarding marketers for giving them a creative way to celebrate these special days, if you anchor on sort of that celebration component, it seems like consumers this year are looking to get out and you know, have some holiday cheer despite inflation and all the things that have sort of unraveled over the last 2 or 3 years here for us. It seems like we're ready to get back out in the marketplace, spread some holiday cheer with gift giving and spending. And so perhaps that's playing in special days favors as well. Although again, I don't have the aggregate data, but I should probably go look for it.
All right. David asks, was there any consideration of consumer fatigue with special days, either too many from a single retailer or across the board, that everybody has these and consumers are just tired of seeing these every day?
Thanks, David. That's a great question as well. You know, I think the study I showed you that gets closest to that is the one where if many companies are offering a promotion around the same special day, we didn't see it be effective, again, because now it wasn't seen as original. And so I think your question might parlay right into that same line of thinking, where think about the underlying dimensions. And the one that I think speaks to your question is originality. And so any marketplace force that makes these special days seem less original, and I think, yes, that notion of fatigue could come in, where we just start to see company after company offering special days, could play into it. I think the interesting part of your question is, you know, are consumers lumping all special day promotions together? Are we really saying, hey, I just saw a Pi Day sale, a Star Wars Day sale, a National Dogs Day sale, a National Food Day sale, National Barefoot Day sale, the sale for the anniversary of my first purchase? Are consumers actually sort of mentally lumping all of those things together? And I think to the extent that they are, or the more likely they are to, fatigue is going to happen more quickly. It's my suspicion that, at least at this point, I don't think consumers probably do that, although I'm speculating a bit at this point. But yeah, I think anything that, you know, kills the originality component of these special days would start to lead them to be less effective.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's also, it's the same percentage off. So you get all these emails and it's like special day, special day, special day, and then peppered in with just, you know, 30% off this, 30. So I never buy anything full sale because I know the next promotion is coming.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I didn't share this study today, but in the early stages of this work, we actually conducted a study where we used Pi Day as the special day, and we showed some people a 31.4% discount, much like the example I showed you. And we compared that to a standard discount that was actually objectively better of 35%. And fascinating to me, we actually showed that response to the objectively worst promotion, but the one that was seen as creative and attached to Pi Day, was better favored than the objectively better standard promotion, which again, I think speaks to the power of these things and how consumer psychology is so fascinating that, you know, we might make objectively worse decisions because of something like wanting to reward consumers, reward marketers' creative effort, feel like they gave us something to celebrate, and have that spill over into our response.
Or we're just really mathematically challenged.
Could be.
Another question from Siva. Do you have any thoughts on the frequency of the promotions? Are less frequent promotions, say a few times a year, more or less effective than more frequent promotions like every week, like, you know, similar to what I just asked?
So I guess, is this referring to special day theme promotions specifically and within a given company? So if a given company, you know, targets 4 special days out of the year versus the same company says on Monday, you know, today was National Moose Day. On a Wednesday, I'll offer that. Tomorrow, whatever Thursday is, I'll offer a special day around that. Friday, the same. Assuming that's what you meant, Siva, I believe that that'd be another thing that could indeed impact that originality. Where the more and more you see a single company offer these special day promotions, maybe you do indeed start to lump them together, going back to, I believe it was David's question about fatigue. Maybe you do start to lump all of these special days together just because you see them so frequently and can start making those connections. I think that's another point worthy of testing empirically to, you know, help companies understand how frequently they should do this. I think you also run the risk, though, of that appropriateness component, right? I think it would be hard for a company to come up with a special day promotion that is seen as appropriate or as high fit with their company every single day of the year. Maybe companies are creative enough to do that, but there are probably limits on that dimension of it as well.
And you'd think they could do different promotions for different people too. Like if they know I have a dog, they could do something related to that versus if they know you have a cat, then that, you know, do they get that sophisticated?
I think so. And so in our research, which I didn't share this today, but we did also look at this notion of how exclusive do you feel by getting this promotion? And we show that that's not necessarily a driver of our effects. This notion of creativity goes above and beyond this notion of feeling exclusive. But I do think that you could start piling these psychological forces on top of each other where, hey, it's this special day and the marketer gave me this creative way to celebrate. I'm going to reward them for that. And on top of that, by receiving this promotion, I also feel exclusive because, you know, how many other dog owners are there? Or if you're celebrating my birthday or my anniversary of the first time that I made a purchase from you as a company, this is more of a one-to-one communication with me. And so I think that notion of feeling exclusive would probably amplify our effects. Although again, we sort of tried to tease those components apart. But I think that could be absolutely right.
Yeah. All right. Kareem says, I saw that you've also done research about consumption as it relates to public health. Are there any specific trends in consumption you also discovered to public health? Or, you know, are there any, you know, brush your teeth day or anything like that?
Interesting. So public health as it relates to special day theme promotions, I didn't study specifically, but I do think it'd be interesting to think about attaching some of this stuff to maybe more heavy special days, right? So there are days about cancer awareness, awareness of diseases, awareness of you know, the more underdeveloped parts of the world and people in need. And so can charities perhaps capitalize on this stuff? We didn't study that. I imagine if they do it tastefully, they could perhaps find a way. But it's a great question. We didn't study that specifically. It would have, you know, also been interesting to think about, like, in times like the pandemic, you know, is creativity rewarded? And I'm not sure, like, would marketers have been rewarded if they tried to go sort of the more creative route versus the sincere uniformity, let's all pull together route, which we saw most brands doing, which I think made total sense and was probably the right reaction from all of them. But I don't know, that's something that I guess I can't go back in time and study, but also an interesting one that we could think about as well.
Yeah, let's hope you don't have to study that again.
Exactly.
We had another question from the chat. Did you find any differences between gender or gender identity in any of your research? Or were there any other unexpected results from your analysis?
Our effects were pretty robust across gender. And I think, that in part could be because of the types of days we chose. There are definitely special days out there that I think align with more with one gender identity than another. I'm sure there are female related days, male related days. Of course, there are days speaking to other types of identities. And so it's a good question as to, how would individuals who maybe don't identify with that the identity linked to that special day respond? I'm not sure. I again imagine that companies could do it tastefully and well, such that maybe you start to amplify these effects by really tapping into, hey, this company cares about me, they understand me, they're aligning with this identity that I hold. And on top of that, they're doing it in this creative way that I want to reward. So I think these forces probably do all interact. And then I'm sorry, I forgot the second part of that question that I know wasn't related to gender specifically. Any other
expected, yeah.
I alluded to one when I talked about how we saw that participants responded objectively they responded more favorably to an objectively worse discount when it was attached to Pi Day compared to a better discount, but just given in the standard promotional format. That was pretty unexpected to us. We thought, surely consumers, would be sort of aware of this and understand. And so, day in and day out in my job, it fascinates me sort of how many quote unquote biases that we show in the marketplace. And that was one of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fascinating stuff. So thank you for that question.
Yeah. So let me ask a question, just sort of where your research goes. So you do all of this research. Where besides our group here, do you work with companies? Do you work with businesses? What do you do?
Yeah. So in terms of the research that's been published, oftentimes, I'll look to disseminate it into the business world. And so for this particular research, I've talked about it on different podcasts, including the Illuminate podcast that Lehigh Business School runs, College of Business runs. And so try to get it out into marketers. I was, on the local news around Lehigh talking about how local merchants can sort of capitalize on this stuff as well. So yeah, always trying to disseminate research to help both the marketers and the consumers that I discussed implications for. In terms of what I do sort of outside of research, yes, always look to help companies do some consulting here and there around issues that pertain to consumer psychology and my expertise as well. And so always willing to lend a helping hand in that way too, however I can.
Great. Yeah, I see in your bio that your work has been featured on NPR, MarketWatch, from Dow Jones, Reuters, and Harvard Business Review. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's always great to have this stuff picked up and to see that it's perhaps helping somebody in the way that I hope it does. And so that's a big reason that I do the consumer psychology research I do, is to help both sides, the marketers and the consumers. And so sometimes I find myself in a pickle because I'm, uncovering some phenomenon that marketers could truly capitalize on. But at the same time, as a consumer myself, I realize, hey, I want to be savvy and are there these hidden forces that are sort of influencing our purchasing behavior that we might not even be aware of? And so that's something I always try to pull out of my research questions I ask as well.
Yeah. How did you get interested in this? Was it a class you took at school or just something you were interested in?
This research question specifically, it's just because my co-authors and I, our email inboxes started getting inundated more and more over the years with special day themed promotions. And we said, hey, companies are doing this. Let's figure out if it's working. And so that's how we started exploring this.
Cool.
In terms of getting into my career as a consumer psychologist, yeah, I've always been interested in both business and psychology. And so consumer behavior, consumer psychology seems like just the appropriate marriage. And the fact that our field exists excites me because it's where I am today. But I think it's fascinating that, really anything that we know about human psychology, broadly speaking, oftentimes manifests in the marketplace in these interesting ways. And I think oftentimes they're more consequential because there's spending and dollars involved. There's consumption. In our field, we think about things like investing and even risky behaviors. I talked about, I do some work in public health. And so I had some work looking at how can we get consumers to respond differently during the pandemic in terms of taking health precautions and so forth. And so I think the cool part about our field is sometimes I believe there are higher stakes that we can help address, which I always value.
Yeah. I took a class in this in college about supermarket layouts, and where they put the sweet cereal right at the eye line of the children. And so looking at that fascinated me. I still think about it when I go to the store, and I still buy the Fruit Loops.
Yeah.
If it could be used for good.
Yep. The research shows that at like the age of 4, children start becoming quote unquote consumers, and not that they're the ones, making the purchases. You as a parent are what we call the gatekeeper. But it's at that point that children really start to sort of understand, hey, this is a product. It could be for me. How might I go about consuming it, getting it, and really sort of figuring that all out. I see it happening in my daughters who are about that age, and it's kind of scary, also very fascinating. Yeah, I saw Amy just wrote that they put flowers near the front of the store to activate smells. Yep. So Whole Foods specifically, when you walk into a Whole Foods, there's lots of flowers, and all of their fresh fruit and produce is in those nice baskets and sort of on things that resemble like food carts. And that's all, to get you to feel like, you're buying a super fresh food, which is what their whole sort of brand image is aligned around. And then of course, where are the staples located in a grocery store? The milk, the cheese, the bread, always in the back. And why is that? So that you walk through all the aisles and buy all of the potato chips and the soda and the other stuff before you get there. Keeps you in the store longer. And that's of course what those retailers want.
Yeah. And then now that so much is online, I'm sure to your point, the same consumer psychology is happening online with the emails leading you in, and, the cross-selling, the upselling, all of that. They can't put a fresh flower scent in an email yet, but
right. And I think you're right. The next big thing on the horizon for marketers, I think, is what we call the metaverse. And it's just this marriage of the physical world and the virtual world, including, virtual reality and all of these virtual worlds that already exist. We're going to see more and more of that. The company Meta, which changed its name to Meta, I think shows exactly how much marketers are sort of betting on that being the future of marketing and business. And so we'll see how it shakes out. But that's where a lot of my thinking is too, is what is technology doing to us? Yeah,
for sure. All right. Well, I don't see any more questions from our participants. So we will wrap things up. And somebody had asked where they can learn more about your research. So if you just want to send that to me, and Bryce will put that in the follow-up email, and also maybe find some of where you've been published through HBR and NPR and those kind of outlets as well. But this is fascinating. Thank you so much. I think maybe we probably should have done like, it's Danny Zane Day Mountain Talk as a little promotion to see if that works. Maybe next time we'll do a little, A/B test, see what works.
Great idea. Yeah, I just threw my email into the chat. So if you want to reach out directly for a more specific question, I'm always happy to help and to talk in any way. Just again, fascinated by this sort of stuff. So any question, even tangentially related, feel free to reach out. But yeah, Jennifer, I'll share that information so that you can pass it along to hopefully find some more of that stuff.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. And thank you everybody for participating today. And we hope to see you on the next Mountain Talk.
Thanks again.
Bye-bye.